Hi there guys, and welcome back to another video. So I know it's been a long time, but yeah, I want to get back to making videos, and I made a poll on the channel, and you guys said that you wanted me to cover, or most of you, to cover chaos vehicles in Unreal Engine 5. So that's what I'm going to do. So you can see that I have a project open. This is not a default project. This is a project that I'm working on. The reason that I'm not doing it from the beginning, it's simply because it's actually easy to set up, but there's small details that we need to cover, and those small details, I already set them here. So I'm just going to be showing you everything that you need to do. It's going to be quicker, and because it's not that complex, I don't need to do it from the beginning. So yeah. So I think you can open up, you know, or create a new project in Unreal Engine 5, like a blank project or a first-person project, whatever. It's not gonna matter because we're gonna be doing the pawn from the beginning. And if I go into the vehicle, so the first thing that you need to do, once you have your project opened, well, we need to go into settings over here, go into plugins, and search for Chaos Vehicle plugin, and I think this is going to be disabled by default, and it's going to give you a warning that it's in beta version, so we need to be careful using it. But yeah, just say yes, and then you need to restart the editor. I think there's going to be a pop-up for that, but you need to restart it. Once you do, well, there's this four things that we need to do. Now, first of all, I need to show you the asset that I'm going to be using. Let me just find it over here really quick. So I'm going to be using this sports car. I think this is from asset pack called Vehicles Variety Pack or something like that. Let me see if I can find it. I think it was free in one of the months, but I'm going to show you the actual model. So if you want to do your own car or import it from Blender or something, it's very easy to set up. But I just want to show you the pack if you want to use exactly the same asset, which is this one over here, Vehicle Variety Pack. There you go. Um, if you have been paying attention to the free stuff, you should have it in your library. If not, let's open up the asset. So the important things with vehicles, and this is the same for the all type of vehicles, is that you need to have a bone for the entire vehicle and then a bone for each wheel. And this bone needs to be exactly on the middle, and the x-axis, the red one, should be pointing forward. And it should be the same in all the wheels, the same way as you see over here. Now, all the four wheels should be separate from each other and should be attached to the vehicle root. And that's all that you need to set up. Now, if you are in Blender and you want to know how to do the weight painting, well, the simple way that this is done is, so the entire car is set up to be weight painted to the root, and then each wheel, so just the wheel mesh, is all weight painted to follow the bone on each wheel. So that's everything you need to do. For this. Now, a second part that is also very important is the physics asset. So when you import this as a skeletal mesh, Unreal Engine is going to generate this asset over here. And I think it should be probably better if you delete the stuff that it's going to automatically generate, because I think it's just going to generate the box around the car, but you don't really want that. So what you want to do over here is, let me see if I can find it. There's something... no, that's not it. Let me see. Well, I think it's probably already going to be here. Oh, there you go. No, it's not add. It's... there you go. You need to show bodies, simulated bodies, and show kinematic bodies. And it's in over here in this little thing. And you can actually show bones if you want. It's probably easier. So if you're going to have like these stuff, this collision automatically generated. So delete that. And then you need to generate individually for each part. So the vehicle root, right click, you need to do add shape. Actually, no, don't click on that shape, just click on it, and then you're gonna have these tools over here, and you need to select a single convex hull. And then you have the settings over here, so you need to, you can put a general like 20 over here, or like 10, and then over here like 30 or 40, and then it add bodies, and it's going to generate this kind of line roughly around the car. So we just need it so that the collision, like if you hit a tree or a wall, or if you like your car goes over on its head, the collisions are going to be fairly accurate, and that's very important. Now, the most important collision here is going to be the wheels. So you need to select each wheel, the bone, and then you need to add a shape, and you need to add a sphere, and you need to make sure that the sphere radius, if you select it, and I think we can change that. Where can we change that? There you go. I think you need to go into primitives, spheres, expand this, and there you go. You should have a radius over here. So just make sure that the radius roughly covers the entire wheel mesh. So it's kind of the same size. It doesn't matter if it goes inside the car, because the only thing that matters is that it when it touches the ground, it needs to be the same size of the mesh. So just make sure that this radius over here kind of matches the size of your wheels, and do the same for each wheel. And that should be everything that you need to do over here. So you can save that, and you can close it, and close the skeletal mesh as well. So that's it if you have the actual visual mesh imported. And the other thing that you need to do, so let's go back into your vehicles folder over here, so you can just create a folder for you. We're going to need these four classes over here. So you need to right click, go into blueprint class, expand all classes, and search for vehicle. And you should have this wheeled vehicle pawn over here. And if you read the description, it says Chaos wheeled vehicle is the base wheeled vehicle pawn actor. So you need to select that one. And in my case, I called it master vehicle, so you can do the same. Call it master vehicle, and then you need two wheels. So you need to do the same thing, blueprint class, type in wheel, and you need to select Chaos wheel vehicle or Chaos vehicle wheel. You're not going to have these two because those two are the ones that I created. So you need to create that. And then you can just duplicate it from over here and call one front wheel and the other rear wheel. Actually, we can do the settings on the wheels already, I think. So let's select our front wheel over here. Most things are going to be left by default. The only thing that you need to make sure is that it is affected by steering because it's the front wheel, and it is not affected by the brake. It is not affected by the engine because we're going to do a rear vehicle engine. And I think the rest, it's by default. Just make sure that affected by handbrake is true. Actually, you can change that. And check the axle type to be front over here. And I believe I didn't change anything else. And then in your rear wheel, just make sure that affected by brake is true, affected by handbrake is true, and affected by engine is true. And affected by steering is actually false. Yeah, because you don't want to steer with your back wheels, of course, unless that's something that you want to do with your vehicle. And I believe the rest is the default as well. And now to the most important part of the vehicle is the actual master vehicle. So if you open that up, first thing that we need to do, let's go into the viewport. You need to select your mesh and assign the car to it. So in my case, it's the SK underscore sports car. So assign that and make sure you go down and select simulate physics over here. Otherwise, it won't work. And make sure the collision preset is set to vehicle. And then you can add the spring arm and then add the camera to the spring arm. So this is going to be for us to be able to see around. And then the spring arm, I disabled the inherit pitch, yaw, and roll. And do collision test, I also set it to false in my case, but you can leave it on, I think, if you want. And then the camera, just make sure that it's not using the pawn control rotation, but I think the default is false. And the same is, it's the same, the default. So, and actually I made the length of my arm 700, so 7 meters, but you can do whatever you want with that size. And now you notice that we have a vehicle movement component over here. Now this is like the character movement component is something, that comes with a wheel vehicle pawn. So the important stuff over here, you're going to have your wheel setups over here and you're going to have 0 array elements. So add 4 over here. And then we need to select, so the first two are going to be front wheel, so make sure the wheel class are the front wheel that we created over here, so the front wheel class. And then the other two are the rear wheel class. And then these bone names over here, make sure that they are exactly the same as inside your mesh. So let's open that again. So you remember the names of your tires over here, the bones. Copy those names exactly here. They need to be exactly the same. So wheel front left, wheel front right, and then rear left and rear right. And I think that's everything for the wheels. And then the engine setup, you're not going to have anything over here, so you need to double click it. And what I did over here, I did very roughly, so you can Alt Shift and click to add new points to the graph. So just keep clicking and add like some kind of curve, like into the distance. I did up to 320. I'm not sure if that's too little or too much, but you know, you can experiment with this. Just make sure that, so the more steep the line is over here, the faster it's going to accelerate, and then it's going to gain speed over time. That's what I try to do. But you know, you can do a lot of stuff with this, whatever you want. And then you just close it and it's going to save. And I left everything else as the default, I think. The steering setup, I think this was already here, if I'm not mistaken. But if it isn't, well, it is like this. So the first is time 20, value 0.8, the other is 60, 0.4, and the other is 120, 0.3. And yeah, that's it. But I think this was over here by default. I don't remember. And the rest is by default. I don't think I changed anything. Now to the event graph, there's only a couple of stuff here. Excuse me for the mess because I didn't put this okay. So, well, you need to get these two mouse events. This is for rotating the string arm so you can see around in your level. So just make sure you type mouse X and you use the mouse event, so mouse X, and do the same thing for the mouse Y. And then get your spring arm so you can control and drag, and then drag from over it and add relative rotation and connect the delta rotation Z to the axis value. And you're going to find this like this. So you can right click on it and split it so you can add a specific float input, and do the same thing for the Y, but add the axis value to the Y pitch and make sure they're both connected to the spring arm. And that's the camera control. Now for the throttle, now you're not going to have these events. For this, we're going to need to go into our settings, project settings, and we need to go into our inputs over here. And I have a bunch of them over here for the characters and stuff. You don't need to worry about that. Just add one for the action mapping over here, and brake, and I use the space bar, and then add two for the axis mappings. So throttle, brake, and steering. Actually, there are three, yeah. So throttle is going to be the W with a scale of 1. Brake is going to be S with the scale of 1. And steering is A and D for left and right with -1 on the A and 1 on the D. Yeah, and that's everything. So yeah, you can close your project settings after you add that. And then you need to call the event. So you just need to type throttle. There you go. And you need to choose axis event. And then drag the vehicle movement into over here. And then call set throttle input and connect that to the axis value. And then what I did over here, I just basically limited the steering input to change based on our speed. So I don't want to steer too much if we're going quick. Now you don't need to do this. Actually, I'm going to delete these and see how it works without it. And you can just connect the event steering that we created on the project inputs to set steering input. So you can drag from over here and type set steering input. The other two are going to be the input axis brake, and I think I misspelled brake, but whatever. And you need to drag from the vehicle movement component again and set brake input and connect that up. And now the end brake, again, input end brake, and drag from over there and set end brake input like this. So select that one, and new end brake to true, and if we release it to false. And that's basically all the control over here for the car. Now the third thing that I created is the animation blueprint that we need to do. So we need to go into our SK_sports car asset. You can right click on it, create, and create a new anim blueprint over here. And that's basically going to create you this that I already moved into my blueprints folder. But it's basically going to create this, so you can call it master vehicle NMVP. Now there's an important thing that we need to do here. We need to go into the class settings and change the parent class to vehicle animation instance, because the default is going to be another one. You need to change the parent class to vehicle animation instance for us to have these nodes. Now in the event graph, there's nothing. The only thing that you need to do is going to the anim graph. So we need to get mesh space ref pose, then drag from it and type in wheel controller for wheel vehicle, and then drag that into the result, and it's going to automatically create the component to local. And we don't need to change anything over here, neither we need to do over there. So this is kind of automatic. This is just an animation blueprint, so your vehicle kind of turns the wheels and they rotate. So it's kind of automated by Unreal Engine already. And now you just basically need to browse this, go into the master vehicle, and make sure you assign this to the anim class with the mesh selected over here. So if you have that selected in the content browser, you can just click over here, use, and it's going to use it. If not, you can just type over here and master vehicle anim BP. That's the same thing. And if I haven't forgotten any details, right now, if you go over here, now you're going to need a game mode. Now I created, already have a game mode for the project that I'm using, but you can just right click, create new blueprint class, create a new game mode, and then basically assign that game mode that you created into over here. And then you can just select your master vehicle and go to the default pawn class over here and select over here. And then, let's not do that. And if you can't see the world settings to change the game mode override, you need to go into Window and click on World Settings over here, and that will show up. And with that done, let's go over here. I'm going to do New Editor Window and make sure that I'm using current camera location. And I believe I'm using net mode as listen server, so I'm spawning as a server. And if you click play, the car should fall into the ground, and you should have physics, and you should have movement like this. So it's actually a pretty good improvement based on the old like NVIDIA physics. The chaos physics are actually pretty good to vehicles. Now this is basically using default values, and it actually handles pretty well. Now if you go into high speeds and you try to turn, it's probably going to like make your car topple over. But that's kind of realistic, because if you try to turn quickly with high speeds, that happens in real life. But yeah, it's pretty good. As you can see, good physics on the landscape splines over here, so static meshes, they also work pretty well. And that's pretty good. So now you can work around with the values over here in the vehicle movement component, and with the tires, for example, to change friction and stuff like that, the brake torque. But yeah, I don't really know much about these values. I just basically test them, and they seem to work. Don't forget to change on the rear wheel, that I forgot to tell you. The axle type, change it to rear instead of front. So don't forget to do that. But yeah, that's it. Now, yeah, I do want to see something about the multiplayer. So I want to see if I play as listen server with 3 windows. I want to see if the cars replicate correctly, because Epic said that it doesn't really replicate correctly yet. Oh, and my computer is struggling to do this. There you go. Let me try to get out of here. Come on. There you go. So I'm basically here playing as a server. Now I'm gonna move or make these windows smaller so I can see. Well, I already see a problem, which is one of the clients spawned below the ground. But yeah, I'm going to play over here as the client. And okay, so yeah, I'm already seeing a problem with replication where the server car is not actually in the correct place, as you can see. So that's a problem. But I think on the master vehicle, if you go into class defaults, I disabled replicate movement, and I did that for a reason. If I turn that on, that's going to be on by default. I'm going to just play with 2. And you're going to see if I move, okay, let me try and get out of here. Oh, really? Come on, man. Go, go, go. Now you can see that the movement is actually replicating pretty well between the 2. But if you notice, the client car, it's kind of sharp. If you see like the physics when you like stop and move, it's not smooth, like it's kind of snapping a little bit. I don't know if you can see that. It's probably more noticeable with high frame rate, so you can test that on your own. But it actually drives pretty well, but it's like it's more in the animation side, like with the vehicle weight on the suspension. So it's kind of the suspension, it doesn't replicate that good yet. But you know, I think it's pretty good even with replicate movement enabled. Um, but now I do want to see two clients seeing each other. So I'm going to change the net mode to play as client, because the server is always going to have the correct information, but a client with a client might be different, and I just want to check that. Okay, one of them. Yeah, I kind of don't like this problem. When you sometimes spawn vehicles with two windows open, sometimes one of the players never spawns. I'm actually going to try and drag in, so I'm gonna create a new player start. And I'm actually going to create a couple of them. And I'm going to try, oh, sorry, I need to choose the correct option over here. So default play start, click play. And let's see if that spawns correctly now. There you go. Okay, so I'm gonna move with my car. Okay, so at first instance, it looks like it's okay. The physics are a bit stiff, as you can see, but I'm actually noticing that the car is not moving as quickly as on the server side. And I think I encountered this before with like the physics side of things, the NVIDIA side of things, sorry, in previous versions. But the actual location replication is actually good for now. But I think there's, you know, it's pretty heavy to do this. I think that's why there's like stiffness and stuff gets replicated a bit slower. Now, Epic did say that they were going to work on chaos physics replication. So I'm hoping that in the future they'll create a good solution for this. But you can see that, you know, just as of now, it's actually not that bad. If you can get through, you know, the small details that replication doesn't handle, it actually works pretty well. So you know, that's kind of good. NVIDIA was a mess in that regard. Stuff got you know, changed, or like they got desynced very easily. But yeah, I think I'm going to leave this video here. Now, I was thinking to do like multiplayer seats where multiple players can, you know, enter the vehicle and one of them can drive and others can be as occupants. I don't mean like the visuals of it because I don't really have animations yet, but you know, making the code for it. I was thinking about doing that, but I'm not sure if it's worth the trouble. But let me know in the comments if you want me to do that. If you want me to do that, I'll add that to the list and I'll show you. You know, I'm going to have to do that for this project either way. So, you know, if you want me to do a video about it, just let me know in the comments. But that's it. Yeah, let me know what you think, and if you have any problems, let me know as well. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.